Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Madison. I'm out in my car right now and it's like raining a little bit, so I'm sorry if like the rain sound is like a little annoying. I just wanted to try something different. Anyway, so I wanted to tell the story of how I was 18 working at a strip club. So I want to come out and say that no, I was not a dancer. Um, but I came very close to being a dancer, and I'll get into that in a little bit. So, to start the story, I guess I have to start at like where I was at that point in my life. So, I had graduated at like 2 a.m. January 2021 because I was doing online school. And so I had been out of high school for some months at this point. I didn't start working there till like June or July, and I only made it a month in that place. Um that club was really like it was in a bad area and like right next to a highway, and it wasn't known for being the safest place, but I mean, who's going to a club and thinking it's like a safe haven, you know what I mean? So I just want to talk about like how I ended up there. So at the time, I was living in this lady's basement, and she wasn't my family or anything. And I was just like, I don't know, really messed up. And I was trying to find a job, and I didn't want to be living in this lady's basement, you know what I mean? And so I was like trying to find a job, but the thing was, is I was literally like 18, and I probably, I had no skills. I'd never had a job before. And so when I would interview for these places that, I was really trying hard, I would get interviewed and get denied all the time. I felt like I had no options, and I had no money, like nobody was supporting me or nothing, you know what I mean? And um I was getting like really disheartened. I started like kind of getting into drugs, and I had a really bad alcohol addiction at the time, but I can talk about that some other time. Um so how I got ended up at the club. So I had no friends. I didn't carry over any friends from high school. Like they all kind of, we all kind of grew apart and stuff, and I miss them. If you guys are seeing this, like hit me up. And um I guess one day, well, okay, sorry. I was really lonely at the time because like I felt really alone. I didn't have like any of my friends, and I didn't like where I was in my life. Um but I'm fresh 18, what am I supposed to be doing? Probably not drugs and working at a strip club, but whatever, you live and you learn, I guess. And this girl that I hadn't actually seen since like my freshman year of high school. She was actually a grade lower than me, but we became friends, and we were the same age because she was working at the club too. And let's call her Amy. So I haven't talked to Amy in, it had to have been like almost 4 years at this point. Like I hadn't heard from her. And I think she slid up on my Instagram story one day, like literally just one day, and was like, "Hey, do you want to meet up for lunch or something?" And I was like, "Oh shit. Yeah, I'm lonely as fuck and mentally ill. Hell yeah, I'd want to meet up for some lunch." So, we go out and we meet up for lunch, and she's talking to me and she's like, "Well, how have you been, girl?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm living in this lady's basement and I've been doing drugs and I really need a job." Not for the drugs, but you know what I mean, to get my own place. And um she was like, "Yeah, I have this job and I work at a club. Is that cool?" And I was like, "Whoa, this girl works at a strip club?" And she was telling me, cuz I was wondering, she said she had work after like our meeting or our little lunch. So, we met up after, or oh my god, I'm so sorry. So she was going to work after, but she didn't tell me where she was working until then. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, holy shit, you're working at a club? Because, like, in my head, like, a strip club was like flashing lights and dancing and, like, you know, fun and, you know, I don't know, it's kind of like the movie shit like you see in like a damn Adam Sandler movie, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, this is so fun. And, you know, I was kind of like, piqued my interest because I was like, oh, that's so adult. That's so, like, crazy. You know what I mean? How'd you land that job? Like, it's like a difficult job to land. You know what I mean? I was like, are you a dancer? And she was like, no, I'm a door girl. I'm a hostess. And I was like, what the hell is that? A door girl or a hostess, whatever you want to call it, is basically the girls who stand at the front of like the club, like in the entrance, and they collect your ID, your entrance fee, they give the girl, you know, the dancers wristbands if they're over 21 to show that they can drink, and basically stuff like that. And she told me she made really good money, and I was like, oh shit, really? You make good money there? And I was like, is it okay if I swing by it after? And she was like, yeah, of course. Now, my curiosity was piqued at the time, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool. A little silly looking back, but, um, then she asked me, she was like, you know, if you're looking for a job, we need another door girl. Like, maybe I can, like, put in a word for you. I was like, holy shit, you think you could do that? She's like, yeah. And I was like, well, what do I need to do to, like, apply to a fucking strip club? Do I need to go inside? And she was like, well, yeah, I'm just gonna introduce you to my manager and we're gonna see how that goes. And I was like, okay. But she was like, we need to change. You need to get changed. Now, at the dinner or at the lunch, I was just wearing like a hoodie and sweatpants. It's usually what I wear. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. We have to go get you some skimpy dresses. And I was like, for an interview? And she was like, yep. I was like, oh, okay. So we go to Plato's Closet and we pick out some like skin tight short dresses. Now keep in mind, like, I was pretty insecure about myself. Like, I kind of always had been. And I'd been in the middle of like alcohol addiction. So I had like gained some weight and it made me feel even worse about myself. So I was not exactly comfortable wearing these clothes. But, you know, that was what I needed to do for the job, so I guess that's what I was going to do. And in order to do this interview, I got changed in my car. Like, literally in the Plato's Closet parking lot. I changed out of my clothes and into my, like, new, like, dress, which everything was only a couple bucks, so, you know, like, that's great. And we go to this club and I pull up and I'm kind of like, this is weird. Like, this is in a weird area. It's right by like a highway and this is really small. Like, this isn't what I expected. I expected lasers and smoke and like this giant ass club, you know, like you see in the movie. And that's not what it was. But I walked inside anyway, and I walked in with Amy, and Amy took me up to her manager and was like, hey, so this is my friend Madison. She's looking for some work. And, you know, I was thinking since we need another door girl, maybe she can play the part. And he was like, he was this big dude. Like, he was wearing this vest, and it wasn't really a vest, but it was like a suit vest. Like, he had like a dress shirt under it, and then it was like a suit vest. And he was like dressed up like really fancy, and I was like, ooh, I'm here wearing a fucking tank top dress. Like, I feel kind of like silly right now. This guy literally towering over me, and, you know, like, I didn't set up an interview, or I don't have a resume, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't prepared at all. Like, I thought I was just meeting up with a friend for lunch, you know? Like, I didn't expect a job interview, especially like at a club, you know what I mean? And he looks at me and he's like, could you turn around for me? And I'm like, uh, okay. So I turn around and I spin back around and I'm confused. I'm like, why the fuck did he ask me to do that? And he's like, yeah, you start today. And I was like, what? I start right now? Oh, you best fucking believe that they put me in front of that, behind that damn register, and Amy had to start teaching me that night. And let me tell you, it wasn't hard. Like doing the register and shit. Like all I did was check IDs, make sure you were 21, and then I would like give you a wristband and give you some money. Or like I wouldn't give you money, but I would take your money. Like the admission fee. And I had a little tip jar in front of my thing. Now I'm not really sure why you tip the door girl. It was just what you did. If there's a girl in there, you give them money, I guess. And that night, when it was both me and Amy working, we made over $200 in that fucking like fish bowl about this big. And $200 in tips in a night. And Amy was like, holy shit, this is the most money I've ever made in a night. And she let me keep it all because it was my first night. And the feeling of like coming home with like driving home with like a stack of like ones was literally insane. Like I was like, holy shit, today I started with no money and now I have money. You know what I mean? And it was just, I was like, holy shit, like this is a real job. I'm an adult now. I'm working and I'm working at a club. Like, holy crap. And I'm due to work, the next couple days training with Amy before I start my own days. And we kind of like switch off like every other day after that, like working at the club. And I remember just being like so excited about like I guess I felt like I had my things figured, like I had my life figured out or something, which of course I didn't. And you know, when I was working there, they didn't have that many bodyguards. They had one. And then they hired another one. And things started to turn weird, of course, very quickly. And this guy, I remember he came in with this woman and they were together and he comes in, he pays, and he like looks at me with his girl. Oh, I assume it's his girlfriend or something. And he looks at me. Sorry, I'm not in my car, so there might be people walking by. And his lady's like, wow, you are so pretty, but you would look so much better blonde. I actually do hair, so like I'm gonna write down my phone number and give it to you, and then I'll dye your hair if you call me. And I was like, okay. And the guy, I assumed was her boyfriend, came around the counter, like where, because there was like a counter where like my register, he came around it, like looked at me, he grabbed my face and like drug it up towards him. And I was like, because like I don't know what to do. I've never been in this situation before. Like I've never had anyone just come up and grab my face. Like I've never had. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Where's my bodyguard? Oh, he's off doing something else at the bar, I guess. And he grabs my face and he's looking at me and he's like, you innocent. I like that. Yeah, you ought to give her a call. And I was like, uh-huh, okay. And he was like, yeah, nothing bad happened to you yet. Girl, what the hell do you mean by that? Yet? Is that a threat? Like, what the fuck? And I remember, like, he would just, like, drop my face and walked into the club, and I was like, um, now, if I had been a little bit, like, more not dumb, I probably should have, like, quit right then and, like, left, or told my manager, or any number of things, really, that I could have done and I didn't do. And I felt really uneasy about that. But my manager had told me beforehand to expect people, like, not respecting me, which I kind of heard and I was like, okay, like I would hope, like I didn't figure people would actually be disrespectful. You know, like that's dumb, but like I don't know, I never had anybody be weird like that, you know? And so when that happened, I was kind of scared, honestly. And people also started like asking for my phone number, and like the people who would come in, they would like ask for my phone number, ask me like they would go up to my managers and try to like buy me for like a date. And I would say no. I'd be like, no. Like, I'm not doing, no, you can't have my phone number, no. And believe it or not, people started complaining about me and saying I was rude because I wouldn't, like, give out my phone number. Now, I didn't know this, but my friend Amy, who had brought me there, she did do that. Like, she would go on dates with, like, the dudes who would, like, come through and she would, like, talk to them and stuff. And I was like, no, there's no way I'm doing that. Like, that is such a bad idea. That is so unsafe. You know what I mean? And so I did it, and people started complaining about me, and it became a thing. Every time I worked, my manager would have to come up to me and be like, hey, why are you being like a bitch? And I was like, dude, I'm not being a bitch. I'm just saying, like, I'm not giving out my phone number. And you know what their solution was when I said I didn't want to give out my phone number? They said to give them a fake number. And I'm like, these are regulars. Like, if I give him a fake number and then he comes back, he's gonna know, like, I'm gonna be in a more uncomfortable situation because he's gonna know that I gave him a fake phone number. You know what I mean? Like, people are gonna be upset. Like, these people come in here, they get drunk, and then they come up to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna entertain it. You know what I mean? Because that just puts me in a more dangerous situation. But that was my manager's, like, I don't know, solution. I guess that's not a fucking solution, but I wasn't a person to him. You know what I mean? Oh, sorry, I turned on my little light, but that looks actually worse. So it wasn't like I was a person to him for real. Like, and I guess like the line of work, like I'm literally, my job is to sit there and be eye candy, and it started becoming really degrading very quickly. Um but I needed the money, and I started getting like less and less in tips because I wasn't giving out my phone number, and I wasn't like doing what people were used to the girls there doing. And it became like a really big problem. It caused me a lot of stress because I was like always worried about losing my job, because I read in the handbook, and yes, I read the handbook. It was my first job, so I wanted to make sure I understood all the rules. And it said that you can be fired at any time without any notice, and that you could also quit without any notice. And also no prostitution, because that's illegal. And but they kind of wanted me to do that anyway. Like, they like would, like, when people would ask my manager how much for a night with me, like, he would be like, oh, that's not up to me, why don't you go ask her? Dude, what the like, really? Like, you're not like, you're doing this on purpose, brother. Like, you know exactly what's going on here. And um the dancers, like, let me tell you about the dancers. The dancers were like, there was this girl's Story. Her name wasn't really Story, it was a stage name. But there was this girl's Story, and she was so much fun. Like, she would split her tips with me, like me and Amy. She would like goof around with us. She would even like mess with the fucking clients, which I don't. Okay, I might have to turn on my light. I'm so sorry. It makes it look like my freaking forehead's on fire, but whatever. Okay, there we go. That's better. So, oh my god, what was I saying? So, oh, the dancers. So, Story was like super fun. She actually would joke with okay, the clients didn't really like her because she would like joke about like I don't know, them peeing on her and stuff. And it was like a joke, like, and she'd like look at us and like wink and like laugh and shit. And she'd actually make the clients really uncomfortable. And she would come out and like throw money at us sometimes, like to share. And like, she was the nicest girl there. And I say girl, but she was like 30 years old and she was like a mom. And she was working there to just, pay her bills and shit. And she would just talk to us, and I really remember her fondly. Like, she gave me her phone number, and like we talked a little bit, and she was really sweet. Well, they ended up firing her, because she kept making the guests uncomfortable, which, I mean, maybe she shouldn't have been saying all that stuff, I guess. But, um, it was really sad when she left because like they just fired her out of nowhere. Like, she thought she was coming in, and then they talked to her and they were like, "Yeah, you need to leave." And she couldn't come back. And she texted me and said, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to work there anymore, but if you ever need me, please call. I would love to hear from you." And I was like, "Yeah, of course." But I didn't really reach out because what am I supposed to do? Like, the age gap is like so huge, and like we don't really have a lot in common. But I do miss her. Like, I do look fondly on her. I hope she's doing well now. Um, some of the other dancers were not as polite. A lot of them just kind of ignored me, or like were polite, which I didn't mind. We were all kind of in a shitty situation, and I started gravitating towards like the stage, because now I was never allowed on the stage because I was a door girl and that was my job. I needed to be at the door. But they would let me on the stage if nobody was there, like in the middle of the day and stuff. And like, I remember I would just go up there and I would like run around on the stage like a fucking idiot, and like spin around on the pole or something. And I thought it was so fun. And like the music, I love music. Like, they would play like a bunch of songs that I was really into, and it was all like high energy, like, fun, like dancing. I love dancing. Um but I remember the girls, the dancers that day, I talked to them and they were like, a couple of them were like, "Yeah, you're a natural. You should do it." And I was considering it because I wasn't making that much money as a door girl anymore. Like that, it's like getting darker by the second. Sorry, it's like, being a door girl only like makes you so much. Like, you don't get like that much money. Like, some of the girls on the stage will get like $1,000 in a night or something, but then sometimes you can make nothing. You know what I mean? And I really wanted them. I needed that money. And I was like, my manager kind of would just like watch me, and I think that was the plan the whole time, was that eventually like I would get to the stage. um which is kind of fucked up. I never did make it up there, like, working wise, because there was an incident. So, oh my gosh, we're at 24 minutes right now. So, I want to talk about this incident and the reason why I left the club. So, one night there was this guy, he was a regular actually, and he came in, he was very angry. He didn't make a lot of sense. He had already been drunk. He was already like been drinking and stuff. And I remember I'm so sorry. It's just like, it just keeps getting darker, so like I'm trying to turn on the lights. But anyway, he had been drinking, and he came up to me and he was like, "Here, I'm going to give you some money now, and I'm going to give you some money for later. Like, I'm bringing in a coworker, a friend." And I was like, "Okay." So I took the money for 2 admissions. keep in mind, he gave me like, I don't remember how much it was, but he gave me like, let's say it was like $20. He gave me $40 and told me that he's paying for the admission of the friend who's coming in later. And I was like, okay, that's fine, I guess. And when he came in later, or he didn't come in later, but with the guy who came in, like, he came up with the guy who gave me the $40 came out of the like club area and up to the guy, and I was like, oh, is this the friend you were paying for? And he got really angry. He started screaming at me. He's like, no, you dumb bitch, like, this isn't. And he was so drunk, and the coworker, because he kept calling him his coworker, looked like frightened, like he was like, he looked like scared. And I was like, I don't know, like, and my bodyguard was nowhere to be fucking seen, as per damn usual, even though he was supposed to stand right next to me all the time. But anyway, but that guy, maybe I didn't want him there because he also invited me to go over his house drinking, but he was also the dad of a kid I used to know in high school. And he asked me, he's like, you know my son? And I was like, yeah. And then he invited me over drinking at his house. I never went drinking at his house because that's weird. You're like 50 years old, dude. Like, what the hell? And I'm literally as old as your son. And when this guy was screaming at me, and you know who came to my aid because he wasn't listening to me, and he was like pulling himself up on the counter, like trying to get in my face and shit? One of the dancers came out, and her stage name was Lola. And Lola started yelling at this guy. And she was as tall, if not taller than him, especially in those heels, man. She towered over him. And she was a strong girl. Like, she had, like, strong arms and shit from, like, because it is hard, like, holding yourself up on those poles, like, with just your arms. The dancers had these crazy fucking, like, muscly arms, bro. Like, and she could have easily beaten the hell out of that guy. And he changed his tune real quick when Lola came up to it. Oh my god, that is so embarrassing. Like, I am so sorry. I'm literally... Well, that's really fucked up because I'm already, like, 30 minutes on my video and I can't, like, quit. Anyway, so sorry. So Lola comes up to him and is like, you better not talk to her like that. You better, like, leave her alone. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is my baby girl, my baby. He was talking to me. I'm not your baby girl, dude. He was just screaming at me. And, he was so angry, and he ended up, like, just walking away, and I let the guy ended up paying for himself, and I was confused because the guy gave me $40 earlier, and then he wanted it back, so I gave the extra $20 back to him. And oh my god, this is just not going how I want it to. And I gave it back to him, and he goes off into the thing, and this guy is so drunk. Like, he is like, after Lola told on the bodyguard who was there that, like, he was acting like that, he was screaming at me, they, like, started watching him, and they didn't want to kick him out because he was, like, throwing out hundreds of dollars because he was so drunk, you know what I mean? And he was, like, just giving out so much money, so they didn't throw him out. Well, guess what happened? He started screaming about how much he hates his coworker, and takes out a knife and stabs him in the stomach. And they throw him out of, like, the bodyguard, like, sees this, throws the angry guy out of the club onto the curb, like, literally on the ground in the parking lot. And the guy is literally, like, hunched over his stomach, like, bleeding. And I'm like, I'm literally watching this shit. And he's hunched over bleeding in the middle of the fucking bar. And they, like, throw the guy out, and then they usher the fucking injured man out, and they won't let him call the police. Like, they keep, like, taking his phone away from him and telling him that he needs to go, and that his someone else needs to take him to the hospital, and they literally wouldn't let them call the police. They wouldn't let him call an ambulance, and they just told him to leave. And because it would look bad on the club. Now, that's not good. I gotta be honest with you. That's really bad. Um, I was scared because that guy was really angry with me, and he could have like, the anger, the like poison seeping out of this guy's words, the anger, like how close he was trying to get to me. Like, I could have very easily been the one he attacked that night. And I can't guarantee that. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I can't guarantee that the club would have let me call the ambulance because it looks bad on them, you know what I mean? Like, a strip club having, like, cops and shit there isn't a good look, the manager said. Which, I mean, not really, but you know what isn't a good look either? Letting someone get stabbed in your damn bar and then throwing them out. You know what I mean? And then we ended the night at 2 a.m. usual time, you know? Like, it was fucking horrible. And I decided right then, I was like, holy shit, they don't care at all about, like, my safety. And all the girls that were there had told me over and over to, like, get out, and they were telling me horror stories and, like, how, like, this isn't what you want out of your life. And one day I decided that I had enough, and I was getting, like, more and more depressed, like, coming in every day because I was getting scared by how people were acting about me, or how people were acting to me, what I had saw. So I decided that I wanted to quit, and I knew in the handbook that I didn't have to put in a 2 weeks notice or anything, but I wanted to work one more Friday because I wanted enough money to, like, carry over to where I could get some groceries or something. And oh, I forgot to mention, the owner of, like, the club, like, the owner of, like, the club franchise came up from Texas and was actually there while I was there. He was going to be there for, like, a month. And he was really nice. Everyone talked about how nice he was. He was really nice to me. Um, well, I came up to him one day. He's like, hey, Randy, can I talk to you? And he was like, yeah, what's up? What's up, darling? And I tell him that, like, I don't really feel, I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna move on to other adventures, but I just wanted to let you know, um, but I was wondering if I could still, like, work tomorrow, and then, I'll be out of your hair. Which, you never want to, like, hear that, but I thought, like, I guess I was kind of hoping for, like, a little extra money. Well, his attitude changed, like, in an instant. Um, all of a sudden, he was, like, really, like, short and, like, angry with me. And he told me to get out now. Like, that second. He's like, you're not working at all anymore. Go. And I was like, now that day, I hadn't dropped myself off at work. I had no ride. My car was, like, something was wrong with it. And, like, I didn't get myself to work that day. So I had to call my mom. And my mom had to come get me, but she wasn't going to be there for an extra 30 minutes. So I fucking made myself to the club area and, like, sat in a chair, and I was, like, literally crying because I was already so stressed with, like, the whole situation. And then he just threw me out, and, like, he was always really nice to me, and then he just kind of threw me out. And then, like, I was crying, and then he came up to me and he's like, you can't be here, you're, like, fucking up the vibe. Like, you need to go somewhere else, go in the bathroom. And so, like, he told me to go outside. And I was like, I'm gonna go outside in the middle of the night by myself? He just told me to leave. Like, I couldn't be there anymore. Like, I couldn't have sat in the office or something until, like, my mom got there. Like, Jesus Christ, I'm a kid. I have to call my fucking mom to come pick me up from my work at the damn strip club. Like, what the hell? And my mom did come get me. And I made my way out of there. And I look back and I realized that was really fucked up. That I did that and went through that. That time in my life was really hard, and I ended up not really talking to Amy anymore because um I don't know, it became like a competition, like I guess with the other people, like the clients, I guess you would call them, that come in, and they would like compare us, and like she would be better, which, you know, I wasn't trying to be the best. I was trying to take money and check IDs, man. Like that's all I wanted to do. Um but I guess I wanted to talk about that. There's like a lot a lot a lot more during that time of my life, but I've already been going for how long has it been? 35 minutes. This is one hell of a long video. So if you made it to the end, thank you so much. I want to talk more about like the experiences I went through, and I would love some feedback about like oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm the world's worst fucking YouTuber. And anyway, I would love some feedback on how I can do better in my videos. Thing I could change, number one, have a steady stream of light. That would be a good one, I think, because I went dark like 4 fucking times. And man, now my arm's sore from like holding up my phone flashlight. That is so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I I hope you liked the video. I'll get another one put out in a week. If, you know, there's anything like you guys really want to hear about, like requests or something, I would love to get some. I would love like feedback, you know what I mean? So, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.